What is going on, Jet fans? I am Matt O'Leary, back with another video. A little bit of a different style video today. Off the cuff, reactionary, a little bit of a rant coming in. As you could tell by the title in this one. This past few weeks, we've been talking a lot about the New York Jets, who they're bringing in for their head coach and all the interviews that they were doing and the GM process and now the staff getting rounded out and even dipping our toe in the NFL draft and the Senior Bowl. We haven't spent a lot of time on guys actually currently on the roster, unless we're talking, are they keeping Aaron Rodgers or not? But today I want to talk some Garrett Wilson. And why do I want to talk about Garrett Wilson? Well, this week, we saw Myles Garrett request a trade from the Cleveland Browns. It was also announced last night that the Rams would be moving on from Cooper Kupp this offseason. And the thought process by many is that this is going to be the first of a few guys who will be requesting trades, and Garrett Wilson's name continues to come up constantly in these trade discussions. Now, why is Garrett Wilson's name coming up? Well, a couple reasons. Number one, during the season, you had a couple people on the Jets beat say something to the extent of Garrett Wilson could request a trade this offseason based on some things that people around Garrett are saying. Yeah, it's not anything that came out of Garrett Wilson's mouth, but people associated with Garrett Wilson think that maybe Garrett Wilson can request a trade this offseason. Have we heard anything from Garrett Wilson out of his mouth saying that he's unhappy being a New York Jet? No. Have we heard him request a trade at any point? No, but we're going to take instead a 1-minute soundbite of Garrett Wilson talking about Mike LaFleur after the Jets-Rams game and point to him really wanting to be with the Los Angeles Rams and not the New York Jets. We have pick your favorite shitty NFL aggregator account that just throws stuff against the wall and hopes to get people to click on it, and people fall for it as something that's actually factual, when in reality these people are just taking baseless rumors and or things that have been either taken out of context or stretched to seem more dramatic from people who actually do report on the team. So due to that, now I unprompted have to see shitty Garrett Wilson trade proposal after shitty Garrett Wilson trade proposal, and it's nobody's fault but these aggregators. And I don't even blame the fans base. Like, I get it to an extent. I empathize with them. The thought of acquiring a Garrett Wilson would excite me if I'm a fan of another team, and I don't really follow the Jets all that closely, but I see this big NFL account that has hundreds of thousands of followers tweet about a guy, and they'll be, oh yeah, I want him on my team. Absolutely, sure, who wouldn't? But from the Jets' perspective, why are you trading one of your young players who is under contract for another? Spoiler, they're going to pick up his fifth-year option. That'll be under contract for another 2 years. He's eligible for an extension for the first time in his career this offseason. Garrett Wilson would be the first player that I'm going up to from the 2022 Jets draft class that they had and paying that extension. I think he is absolutely someone that I would want to build my team around. On the field performance, only Jet in NFL history to come into the league and post 3 straight 1,000 yard seasons in the first 3 years of his career. The Jets don't have dynamic wide receivers. You have to go back far in their history to find their last guy who came into the league and had this much success. Who are you pointing to? You had the 1 year of Brandon Marshall. He was a veteran and acquired. You had like Santana Moss had that one awesome season in 2005. Lavernius Coles had a couple of nice seasons, but we're not talking about the kind of impact that Garrett Wilson has had coming in and producing with some of the worst quarterback play in the league. Sure, you had Aaron Rodgers this year, who played average at best this season, and in years gone by, it was even worse. If you want to call it, it is worse flat out. But even if you're more on the positive Aaron Rodgers side, he actually was great because he had, he was 8th in yards, even though he, threw the ball 7,000 times this year. Whatever. Point being, Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, Joe Flacco, Mike White were throwing Garrett Wilson the ball in his first 2 years in the league, and he was still producing. Garrett Wilson's been through a lot, like obviously the Jets fans who've watched this team over the last 15 years through their playoff drought. But that's the guy that I want to be here and build around. I don't buy that, someone who's had some association with Garrett Wilson thinks, oh, maybe he requests a trade, and that somehow turns into me having to read Garrett Wilson for 2 mid-round picks coming up on my feed. It's bullshit. It's absolutely just fabricated nonsense, and it's frustrating. And that's the unfortunate part about the industry today, is that you get these big aggregator accounts that are just throwing shit against the wall, and these fan bases buy it, and then these narratives and discussions take place. Jets aren't trading Garrett Wilson this offseason. In fact, I will say that it's more likely that the Jets sign Garrett Wilson to some 4-year, $110, $120 million contract extension than it is that they trade Garrett Wilson. Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn coming in here, one of their first things is obviously figure out what the hell you're doing with Aaron Rodgers. Is he staying or is he going? But then the very next thing that I'm doing is extending Garrett Wilson so that my fan base doesn't have to go online and read these absolutely ridiculous, mind-numbing trade proposals that continue to get tossed out there. So there you go. Just my 2 cents on the Garrett Wilson trade discussions that have been tossed around on the internet this week. A little fired up over it. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I will catch you next time.